Time. That was the one-word answer from a top Virginia Democrat today when asked how party elders hope to resolve the Commonwealth's leadership crisis. All three Virginia's top Democratic officials face potentially career-threatening scandals. Today, the Washington Post editorial board joining a massive list of those calling for the Democratic governor, Ralph Northam, to resign. That comes after a second Virginia Democrat, the Attorney General Mark Herring, revealed he too, like the governor, wore blackface in Herring's case to a party once. And we now know Professor Vanessa Tyson, the woman who has come forward accusing the Democratic Lieutenant Governor, Justin Fairfax, of sexual assault, told a Virginia Democratic congressman about her alleged attack over a year ago. Fairfax insists the encounter was consensual. CNN's Dan Merrick joins us live from Richmond. So, Dan, take us through this. We know Vanessa Tyson told the Washington Post of her allegation, but now there's a paper trail with a Democratic congressman, too?
Yeah, Representative Bobby Scott, the dean of the Virginia delegation, longest serving, served since 1993 of the Virginia Tidewater region. He had a prior relationship, and sources tell us it was a romantic relationship with the accuser, with Fairfax's accuser, Ms. Tyson. Now, what we are told, based on from Scott aides, is that they spoke a number of times from late 2017 into early 2018, and at different moments, Tyson informed Scott that she either had an issue with Fairfax, but it wasn't until late 2017 or early 2018 that Scott was made aware of the fact that Tyson, in fact, had a Me Too allegation against Justin Fairfax. Now, what the congressman told us on the record is this: allegations of sexual assault need to be taken seriously. I have known Professor Tyson for approximately a decade, and she is a friend. She deserves the opportunity to have her story heard. Now, all of this comes, obviously, as you have this kind of trio of scandals here in Richmond. It may look calm and quiet behind me. I can promise you in that building it is not. There's this
National Weather Service in Wilmington has issued a flash flood warning for Wayne County, Union County, Indiana, Fayette County, Indiana, Preble County, until 6:15 p.m. At 12:17 p.m., radar indicated that thunderstorms had produced heavy rain across the warned area. Radar estimates show that around 1 inch of rain has fallen in the past several hours, with additional rainfall of 1 to 2 inches possible through the afternoon. Runoff from this excessive rainfall will cause flash flooding to occur. Some locations that will experience flooding include Richmond, Connersville, Eaton, Centerville, Cambridge City, Liberty, Camden, Lewisburg, New Paris, West Alexandria, Gladys, Dublin, West College Corner, Glenwood, Salem, Waterloo, Columbia, Bunker Hill, Abington, and Brownsville. Move to higher ground now. Act quickly to protect your life. Turn around. Don't drown when encountering flooded roads. Most flood deaths occur in vehicles. To report flash flooding, go to our website at weather.gov/ILN and submit your report via social media when you can do so safely.
Beyond a reasonable doubt, which is a much higher standard than the burden of proof in, say, the court of public opinion.
Well, let's come back to the court of public opinion. He says that after this alleged incident in 2004, there are no witnesses inside the hotel room, obviously, except for the accuser and the accused. He says that they had some contact. He says there was a phone call. He's sort of giving conflicting answers or unclear answers about whether there were also texts. Her statement yesterday was emphatic. She said this happened at the Democratic Convention in 2004. She avoided him for the rest of the convention after. She has not spoken to him since. 14 years ago, 15 years ago. In your experience, could we find those phone records if they exist?
Possibly. It depends. It also depends if it's a cell phone. It'll probably be a lot easier to find the phone records. But they may exist, and the lieutenant governor could ask for them.
Well, the lieutenant governor is the one who's put that out there.
Right.
And so
you think he'd want to.
Put the burden on him. So let's come back and please jump into the conversation. The question is, what now? I talked to one of the elders in the Virginia Democratic Party today. He said they need more time. And he wasn't doing that. He said that's not a cop-out. He said that the story, everything keeps changing every day. We need to get a couple of days where things are consistent and then we figure out what to do here. If all three of them left, you'd have a Republican governor. The Speaker of the House would take over. That's unpalatable to Democrats. But their principle is racism shouldn't have your job. Women should be taken credibly They demanded that Kavanaugh not get on the Supreme Court. What is the consistency challenge for Democrats now?
The consistency, yeah, that is the consistency challenge, is whether to abide by the same standard that they were demanding in cases like the Kavanaugh case, which, you know, the consistency flips the other direction too, right? There were a lot of Republicans during the Kavanaugh case who were making the case that, you know, it was, you know, far back in his past and it shouldn't be a disqualifying factor. So everybody on both sides has this issue. I think for the Democratic Party, look, this is a state that a decade ago, when I was a reporter there, the Republicans had absolute, like, firm lock on this legislature, 67 out of the 100 seats in the House of Delegates. There was a Republican Speaker of the House at the time. He was ousted because of a sexual harassment scandal. You know, Democrats have consistently taken power back in the state to the point where now it's 51-48. They had hopes of really cement power in Virginia over the course of the next couple of election cycles, and this is, from a political perspective, really damaging to that. It's hard to see how the party, you know, solidifies its control in the state when you've got all of these scandals going on, and that's a problem for them.
So in the case of the lieutenant governor, what is the vehicle? Can there be a vehicle to air this out, in the sense that, again, first respect to the victim? She says she has a statement, that's it. So maybe she doesn't want there to be anything. But in the case of Kavanaugh, he was a nominee for the Supreme Court. There was a confirmation process. There was a hearing. Once they agreed to let Christine Blasey Ford come testify, then they had the negotiations over other witnesses. But there was a process. He's the lieutenant governor. There's no process here. What do you do?
It's really tough, too, because, you know, the parallels between this woman who was accusing the lieutenant governor of sexual assault years ago, and then what Blasey Ford was saying with Kavanaugh, like, those are pretty remarkable and in the same ways very, very challenging to deal with. Both women said that they didn't contemporaneously tell friends or family right away, so that obviously makes it difficult. When there is potentially an intimate exchange between two people, the whole point is that it's not necessarily going to be seen by many others, if any. And also just the aspect of these women seeing these men who they're accusing of terrible behavior, seeing them rise in public office. They are triggered by that, at least that's what they're saying, and the reasons for them saying that they're speaking out now has so much to do with the fact that they are seeing these men in public rise in their careers, and something about that really doesn't sit well with them. But I think it is a really, really difficult thing to confront, because they're not going to be sort of right answers that satisfy everybody. You cannot go back in time. You cannot play, you know, video clip, because none of that exists, right?
But you can't, again, for the Democrats, you can be consistent if you want to be. Freshman Congresswoman Jennifer Weston from Northern Virginia, having the courage to tweet out, "I believe Dr. Vanessa Tyson." This at a time when her state party is trying to figure out what to do with this. "I believe Dr. Vanessa Tyson." Our old friend Peter Hamby here at CNN, writing in Vanity Fair, like you, cut his teeth covering politics in Virginia. "At the first hint of Dr. Ford's accusation, Democrats spoke up, demanding that the confirmation process be paused and that Kavanaugh confront the charges. There are no Democrats standing up for what's right at a moment when it's really, really hard. National Democrats can claim that this Fairfax story is none of their business because they aren't immersed in the details of Virginia politics. Unfortunately, since every Democrat in America felt comfortable weighing in on Virginia politics after the Northam scandal broke, that's no longer an argument they can make." In the sense, the governor was caught. He said the picture of him in blackface, or the guy in the Ku Klux Klan wasn't him, but he did mimic Michael Jackson once in blackface. Democrats said, you got to go. And good for them. They took a stand. But they got involved in Virginia politics. How do they stay out now?
Yeah, look, I think it's a question. It's one a lot of us have been asking on Capitol Hill. And if you're not confronting a senator or a member of the House that's from Virginia, odds are they're not going to answer your question. Or they're going to say, we don't live there, or they're just going to walk by you, or a staffer's going to come in and say, we're in a rush and we can't talk about it. And I think to your point, to Peter's point, compare that to where they were a couple months ago during the Kavanaugh nomination, and it's a complete reversal. And I think part of it underscores, look, there's the politics of this, no question about it. People are trying to figure out how to navigate what the line of secession would be, part one. Part two, to MJ's point, there's nothing clean here in terms of there's no, just like Kavanaugh, where you can say definitively, this is what happened, we know this is what happened, and we know this is how it ends. But to the point that Peter made, and I think that you're hearing from a lot of Republicans right now, is we told you this was eventually going to come back and bite you. And this is biting you right now, and you need to figure out a way to respond to it. And so far, they haven't quite figured that out.
As somebody with fact-finding experience who also understands the sensitivity of these matters, any suggestions for the politicians on how to try to resolve this?
Well, it is different than the Kavanaugh hearing because Kavanaugh was in the middle of a hearing, and so the Democrats could ask for the hearing to be stayed so they could look at the facts. There's no pending investigation here, and I don't know if there's a history of, the state legislature investigating these kind of cases. So it does put the Democrats in a little bit of a trickier situation. I mean, all of these cases are so fact-based, and so they're going to have to come up with something, and maybe the Virginia Democratic Party itself is going to have to investigate.
That's one option. We'll watch as this one plays out. Appreciate your coming in, Julie. Up next for us, a big speech next hour from the former Starbucks CEO. He's flirting with a run for president.